Hey, so welcome to this walkthrough of Pastel Skies. Thank you for joining me today. A few of you have asked for maybe a course in meditation music, a course on how to write ambient music, just to kind of share my unique approach to this genre. That's really what inspired me to do these walkthroughs. If you're a fan of my music or you stream my music and you just want to kind of see how it's made, this is for you. And if you've already got a ton of experience in this field, then maybe some of this information might be basic to you or maybe spark some inspiration in your next project. So those are all my goals with this series of walkthrough videos. So before we dive into the walkthrough, let's just take a moment and listen to Pastel Skies. So you might be asking yourself, where are all the tracks in this project? You're actually looking at the entire project. This is a pretty small project by most standards. But for ambient music, sometimes this is all you need. You don't need to layer 40 tracks, 60 tracks. I try to keep them as simple as possible. I want to create space for the listener. And this is already a busy track just because of the nature of the melody that I'm playing. It's a call and response melody, and it's throughout the duration of the song. So I didn't feel like I needed to add too much more on top of it. I just wanted you to enjoy the playful back and forth between um, the two parts on this song, and that's really what it's about. So anyway, moving forward, um, as you can see, I've got four tracks that are the backdrop to the song, kind of that create the ambience. I usually always start with some type of nature backdrop, some type of ambiance. That's almost a given 99% of the time. That's exactly where I start. So as you can see, I've got two of these lo-fi water tracks, and then I've got two forest tracks. And I didn't do anything special here. I just found the part that I liked, and I looped that part. And it's a very simple fade in and fade out. And in most cases, when you're adding these type of elements, that's really all you have to do. And of course, you can get very creative with it. But in this case, that's it. I didn't do anything beyond that. And actually, these clips are auto faded by Ableton, except for the forest ones. I did add a bit more of a fade in and a fade out. So to me, what makes Pastel Skies unique are these two tracks, this pluck and this lead. As you can see, these are full length recordings. They're not 4-bar, 8-bar, or 16-bar recordings that are being looped. These are full 2.5 minute kind of free-flowing recordings. And I don't always do that, but sometimes I do. And the reason why I do it isn't so that I can use the entire full recording as the actual song. Usually it's so that I can go back and listen to it and just keep the parts that I like the most. But sometimes, and I learned this a long time ago, the next day or the next week, when I go back and I listen to it, even with all of its imperfections, I usually find out that that's exactly what was supposed to be recorded and shared. And I don't go in and try to tweak it. It's just a free flowing recording. That's just pure inspiration, in the moment, how you feel, what you're capturing, and what you're sharing. So there's a bit of an aspect of being vulnerable here, and but there's also you just trust the process. You trust your creative genius, and you trust the information, the information that you're receiving and transmitting in the moment. And that's what these full 2.5 minute recordings are. Okay, so then I'll go back and I will maybe use some automation or maybe cut out certain parts. And in this case, I just used a little bit of automation just to dip the volume at the beginning of this lead and a bit to dip it here in the middle to allow the lead to stand out. So feel free, by all means, feel free to capture full recordings like this. Just have fun with it. You never know if what you're recording is going to be absolutely perfect. And but I wanted to share that with you. The imperfections are sometimes the perfections. So then beneath that, I just laid some simple bass notes to kind of anchor the song in certain parts. Okay, so now we're starting to get somewhere. We have our ambiance. We have some structure around the melody. And what I like to do at this point, if I don't start with it, is I want to add these transition effects. So in this case, I have this magic texture that is layered with this rattle sound, these nutshells. Just to give it a bit more body and interest. And what you'll see with the nutshells, they'll pan left to right and then right to left on the way out to give it some nice movement. And that's just one technique. Sometimes I'll just go left to right or right to left, but in this case, I wanted to go back. So then just a nice fade in and fade out on the volume. And there isn't a bunch of processing here. I did add a bit of delay. And I added a bit of reverb. And you'll notice I have the automation set. So that reverb is kind of a wash on the way out. So yeah. Okay, so let me share the actual instruments. Probably something I should have done at the beginning of this video when we were talking about these two tracks, these two recordings. This is an ambient pluck that I actually designed myself. I'm not a sound designer at all. I find a lot of inspiration in discovering sounds and then seeing what I can do with those sounds. So I found this really great tutorial from Anima Audio on how to create this synth pluck. I really love the sounds that those guys are crafting. You can tell they have a lot of passion, and I went ahead and I bought their other sound packs, and I'm currently using them in most of my newer pieces that I'm writing. So stay tuned for that. And I definitely encourage you to check out their website. I think you'll love the sounds they're putting out, especially if you're writing ambient or meditation music. And I'll also leave a link for Vital so you can download the free synth. And this is the second sound I use called Cascades. This is actually from one of their sound packs. Beautiful sound with about 4 different layers, which is another reason why I only used 3 instrument tracks in this project. So let's take a look at the EQ. So I used 2 low pass filters just to get a really clean cut of the low end. So that's a little trick if you're not doing that already, is use more than one filter when you're applying a low or high pass cut, just to get it really clean cut. And that's really about it. If you notice on this one, I didn't even do anything to the EQ or the compression. Yeah, I didn't do anything to the EQ or compression on that one because I liked the sound as is. So yeah. And then with the bass, I used a serum patch that I believe I got this one off of Splice. Okay, so this is Dream Pads. You've got 65 wave files that are all different pad sounds and different keys and in different frequencies, 432 hertz, 528 hertz. And then you have about 10 effect sounds that round out the pack with 75 waveforms in this pack. And I'll put a link in the description if you want to go check out Dream Pads. So one thing that I didn't point out with these transition effects with the textures here, if you notice, each one is kind of layered differently. You've got the magic texture first, and then you have the rattle, and then you have them layered together and just the texture, and then the rattle, then the texture. So that's just being creative and just making it different throughout. Again, you don't want to be that repetitive if you don't have to be. So I've got a complete idea here, but there are a few edits I want to make. And if you see these 2 clips here, so those are the only 2 edits I made. I wanted to add some change on the end with the outro to give the song some closure. And I also did a bit of editing on the front end. But other than that, it is the original recording without any changes. Hey, so that wraps up Pastel Skies. I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough and got some ideas. Feel free to comment below, ask me any questions about the project if there's anything that I forgot to mention, or maybe it's something that I glossed over that you'd like a little more in-depth information on. Feel free to let me know. And if you enjoyed this video and want to see more like this, please do share that. And if there's a certain song that I've released that you'd like to see a walkthrough on, let me know. That'd be really helpful as I plan these out and get these recorded. So that's it, guys. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being here with me today. And remember to believe in the magic and always expect miracles. We'll see you on the next one.